Hi, I'm Jennifer and welcome to my midlife student life. In today's video, we're going to talk about personal self-care, something that's very important when you're a student. And I'm going to share with you my own self-care action plan, which helps me survive the stresses of school. So first, let's clarify what I'm talking about. What is self-care? It's a term that we've heard frequently over the last couple of years as we've survived a pandemic, but it's something that hasn't been in all of our lives forever. In fact, some generations will be watching this video going, self-care? We never did self-care. You may have heard though a turn of phrase that says, all work and no play makes Johnny a very dull boy. Well, that's sort of the idea of self-care, but let's take a look at the exact definition. According to the Oxford Dictionary, self-care is defined as the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. So I want to focus on a couple of words in this definition. First of all, notice that this definition uses the word practice, which implies that this should be a regular, frequent, or habitual routine, followed by the phrase active role, which means we're required to do something and invest ourselves in this activity. The last line, during periods of stress, stands out to me, especially as a student, and it should, because these actions of self-care are not only a routine part of life, but they may also need to be intentionally increased during added periods of stress. Now, the source of the stress does not matter, but obviously, as a student, we experience greater and lesser seasons of stress as we meet study deadlines, complete exams, and are involved in testing situations. So how do you create a self-care action plan? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to take some time to reflect on what your own needs are for 6 categories. And these are the areas that I've done reflection upon. Includes physical, mental, emotional, relational, spiritual, and professional health. Now, we are all unique individuals, so we're gonna have different action items, and that's okay. Think about the activities that nourish you. What feels like a chore and it's difficult, and what feels like an empowering activity. For some people, for example, cleaning and organizing will always be a chore, while for other people, cleaning and organizing might actually be enjoyable. Well, maybe not the cleaning part, but I really like organizing. And a quick tip on that, if you have a chore or an item that is not something that empowers you, find somebody else who likes to do that thing. Maybe trade or delegate that activity if you can. Self-care is so much more than just having a spa day or going and buying an expensive latte. While doing research for this video, I did a quick search on that and looked up some other videos. And there was a lot of people sitting and waiting in line in their car to go to, some fancy coffee place, and they're having a self-care moment. And I'm just like, okay, so for me, sitting in a car in a lineup and waiting and even driving to town, that's like stressful. So do things that are good for you. If that is something that is exciting for you or it helps you feel more fulfilled or empowered, then do it. Here we go. Let's take a look at my self-care action plan. Under physical, drinking plenty of water, staying hydrated, eating real food, sleeping, and that may include afternoon naps, walking and stretching, attending routine medical appointments like dental care appointments and osteopathy appointments is what I have listed under my physical requirements for self-care. And especially student of osteopathy, you'll know exactly what I mean. When you are in clinical and you are in MOPP classes, you get overtreated, overstimulated. You may come out of that week of class feeling awful. And it also could be because you haven't had really great treatments and you need to get fixed. I really encourage you to go to your osteopathic manual practitioner and get treated the week before potentially, and definitely the week after you have one of these really crazy clinical weeks. Second category is mental health, a topic that's been discussed a lot in the last few years. For me, having times of self-reflection and being aware of my internal dialogue is important. And that's just sitting quietly alone. I don't really enjoy journaling. This is where a lot of people will write journal, self-reflect. Again, modify this category for what you need. Third, emotional health. So having compassion, forgiving yourself. Also, for me, listening to music is a real visceral experience and includes emotional. It actually can change my mood by putting on certain kinds of music, maybe even moving to the music, or for me, creating and playing music. Those are all things that will help me on the emotional level. And forgiveness, or forgiving myself for not achieving goals. This one I have to do on a daily basis. I beat myself up all the time when I set goals that are usually not that realistic, and then I don't achieve them because I like a challenge. So we have to be very careful with ourselves. For those of you who are like me, if you are a perfectionist, create more realistic goals. You'll feel better when you achieve them, and forgive yourself on a daily basis when you don't always achieve those really crazy, unrealistic goals. Number 4, spiritual. Connecting with my Creator, participating in a faith community, observing a weekly day of rest. That's a very important one for me. And spending time in nature. These are all things that help my spiritual health. Now, I'm someone as well that's participating in a faith community that has celebrations, has feasts and fasts and things that are already part of that spiritual religious calendar. And because of that, I already have some things that are set in stone on an annual basis. I know there's times when I get to have a day of rest and there's a season of celebrating. So for me, those boundaries have already been created, and I find I need them. I really need them, and they're so helpful for me. Number 5, relational. In order to maintain relational health, I find spending time with my husband, my family, and friends is very important. And it's also important to find a community of people that are supportive of you. So for me right now, my classmates are actually really high on my priority list because they know exactly what I'm going through. They understand the deadlines. They understand the examination process. They understand the amount of readings and work that we have to do. So surround yourself. For me, that means attending Zoom gatherings. We get together online, study sessions, social events that are put on both. Our class creates some of them, the school creates some of them, and participating in them. And that actually really, really helps me to connect and fulfills that relational health need. And number 6, professional health. So as a student, I'm a full-time student, but I am also still working. And I just carried this over from my previous, before I became a student life. And in this area, I had pursue work that is invigorating and satisfying, fulfills a greater purpose in my life. And also I put here setting boundaries around that work and support from peers and mentors. Setting boundaries, I think that's an important one because that means both as a student and a professional, we're again taking times of rest, taking breaks. But also it's very easy with this world of technology, like the phone right now. I've already had it buzz a couple of times. I'm recording this on my phone. And so, if you're not paying attention, very quickly, your work life and your personal life just get a little too intermingled, and you don't have breaks from each, which means you're not really fully invested and present either as, a work person, an entrepreneur, professional, and you're not fully present in your personal life. So I think it's really important to have those separations, those periods, turning the phone off, take breaks from tech. So that wraps up today's video. It's time for me to go get some more water, get a drink, and head outside, get a little fresh air, and then get back to the books. Time to study. Yay! Have a really great week, guys. And remember, take some time for yourself.